Good evening, galaxy of luminaries, distinguished guests, respected teachers, and my dear students. It is immense pleasure extending a very warm welcome to you all at the virtual webinar on the spirit of Bangabandhu upholds the core essence of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. I am Muhammad Ishrat Jahan, lecturer, Department of English, Govt Bangla College. It's my privilege to make announcement of today's webinar. The webinar is organized by the Department of English, Govt Bangla College, on the occasion of the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the Golden Jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh. Today, we feel honored to have with us Professor Dr. Firdausi Khan, principal of this college, as the respected chief guest. She has made outstanding contribution towards attaining congenial academic atmosphere and quality education. We feel honored by her distinguished and illuminating art in numerous capacities. We also have Professor Muhammad Jahangir Hussain, respected Vice Principal of this college, as our special guest. He is a man of distinct vision as an erudite of knowledge and inspiration to all of us. We feel highly honored to have with us Professor Dr. Muhammad Abu Jafar, Chairman, Department of English, Jagannath University, Dhaka, as the respected keynote speaker. Professor Dr. Muhammad Abu Jafar, a scholar, true academician, and man of dynamic and bold personality, has transformed the Department of English, Jagannath University, into a new height. The president of today's webinar is Professor Sabrina Ishrat, the chair, Department of English, Govt Bangla College. Under her dynamic leadership and commitment, we are working as a team to achieve the vision of our department. Now, we would like to begin the program with the kind permission of the chair, Professor Sabrina Ishrat. Respected audience, kindly allow me to say a few words about the background of today's webinar. We all know that the greatest Bengali of all times, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, is the architect of Bangladesh and the father of the Bengali nation. He is the undisputed visionary leader as well as the driving force of the independence of Bangladesh. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman believed in democracy, and his such spirit upholds the core essence of French Revolution. The ideals of the revolution are liberty, equality, fraternity. His democratic and revolutionary zeal brought the emergence of Bangladesh, and luckily, now we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh. Now, I would like to invite one of the seasoned scholar and navigator of knowledge from the Department of English, Govt Bangla College, Professor Sufia Saida Hassan, to deliver her welcome speech.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, madam, we are hearing you.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Principal, Professor Dr. Ferdowsi Khan, respected Vice Principal, Professor Muhammad Jahangir Hussain, respected keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Abu Jafar, Chairperson, Department of English, Jagannath University, Dhaka. Distinguished audience, respected colleagues, and my dear students. Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to you all. This is Professor Sufia Saida Hassan welcoming you warmly to today's webinar hosted by the Department of English on the auspicious occasion of the birth centenary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, and the Golden Jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh. This year is a very special year for the nation of Bangladesh. And particularly this evening is a very special evening for the Department of English. We are really honored to get the privilege to pay our homage to our father of the nation. And we believe the best way is probably to represent his ideals, values, philosophies to our next generation. That's the reason, dear audience, we have selected the topic of our webinar. The spirit of Bangabandhu holds the core essence of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. Very few leaders and events in the history of mankind have influenced and changed the fate of a nation in such a powerful, far-reaching, and successful way as this Bangabandhu and the French Revolution. The French Revolution was a period of major social upheaval that began on May 5th in 1787 and ended in 1799. The revolution sought to completely change the relationship between the rulers and those they govern, and to redefine the nature of political power. The causes are generally agreed to be a combination of social, political, economical factors which the existing regime proved unable to manage. The motto of the French Revolution was liberté, égalité, and fraternité in French, which is liberty, equality, and fraternity in English. And this is an integral part of the Constitution and the national heritage of France. Liberty, or the right to live freely and without oppression or undue restrictions from the authorities, is a core value in a democratic society, and so is equality. This is not only treating each other equally, but also that every person is viewed equal from the point of view of law. Fraternity means friendship or mutual support within a group, and we all should be kind and supportive to one another. At its core, it's about solidarity. Now, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was the champion and epitome of these noble values, of these noble ideals. If we look at his life and all his works, we will notice how throughout his life he has fought to establish these ideals, to build up a society based on democracy, equality, solidarity, secularism, and an all-inclusive society. Even as a school student, he fought to alleviate the discriminations among the caste and the creed. As a young rising leader, his role in the riot and famine in Calcutta in 1946, in the election of 1954, in the 6 points of movement of 1966, in the mass uprising of 1969, and finally in the liberation war of 1971. After the war, he tried to build the war-ravaged country based on these ideals. Bangabandhu's inspiring founding vision of a democratic, free, secular, and inconclusive Bangladesh will continue to guide the people of Bangladesh generation of generation. Now, this topic will be demonstrated, discussed by our paper presenter, Sangjukta Pal Choitali. Our highly esteemed keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Mohammad Abu Jafar, will analyze and evaluate the issue. We are looking forward to hear from you, sir. We will also have discussions from our very resource speakers, principal and vice principal, sir. I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude and thanks to our honorable principal, vice principal, and especially to our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Mohammad Abu Jafar, for giving their kind consent and sparing their valuable times to let this event happen. We are highly grateful to our respected head of the department, Professor Sabrina Ishrat, for her continuous support and counsel. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the members of the webinar committee and each and every member of the Department of English for taking out all-out effort to make this webinar a memorable and successful one. I would like to thank our engaging and inspiring audience. Dear students, please attend the program from the beginning to the end. This is going to be a highly educative, a very exciting and very engaging event. And I believe from the speeches of our honorable speakers, our resource speakers, your horizon of knowledge is going to be broadened and you are going to learn many things which will help you in your life, and you are going to learn many things about the life of Bangabandhu and the unexplored and uncharted things of the aspects of French Revolution. Once again, a cheerful welcome to all our audiences, and thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
I convey my best thanks to Professor Sufia Saida Hassan for her oars. Now, it is time for the presentation of the second speaker, Ms. Sangjukta Pal Choitali, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Govt Bangla College. She is the paper presenter of today's webinar. So, let us welcome Ms. Sangjukta Pal Choitali.
Respected Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Firdausi Khan, Principal, Govt Bangla College. Respected Special Guest, Professor Mohammad Jahangir Hussain, Vice Principal, Govt Bangla College. Distinguished Keynote Speaker, Professor Dr. Mohammad Abu Jafar, Chairperson, Department of English, Jagannath University, Dhaka. Respected Chair of the Department of English, Govt Bangla College, Professor Sabrina Ishrat. Respected teachers and my dear students, a very good evening to you all. You are aware that this year, 2021, is a historic year for Bangladesh. This year, we are concurrently observing the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and 50th year of our independence with due honor and dignity. Now, I'd like to present the paper titled The Spirit of Bangabandhu Upholds the Core Essence of the French Revolution, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 1920 to 1975. The greatest Bengali of all times is the architect of independent Bangladesh and the father of the Bengali nation. Bangabandhu believed in democratic ideals like liberty, rule of law, equality, fraternity, and so on. He dreamed of a democratic, secular, and independent Bangladesh. Through his undisputed and charismatic leadership, we have achieved independence of Bangladesh. And this historic achievement has come through a series of democratic movements like language movement of 1952, six-point movement of 1966, mass upsurge of 1969, and finally, emergence of Bangladesh in 1971. In all these democratic movements, Bangabandhu demonstrated a strong and charismatic leadership to inspire the people to fight for the cause of freedom. His historic 7th March speech truly encouraged and guided all sections of people to fight bravely against the Pakistani army, and also inspired the people to make supreme sacrifices to achieve independence so that we can live in freedom and with dignity. Under his undisputed leadership, Bangladesh emerges as an independent country in the world. Bangabandhu dreamed of a Bangladesh where the rule of law, fundamental human rights and freedom, equality and justice, political, social, and economic freedom will be ensured for all citizens. It has been argued that the spirit of Bangabandhu upholds the core essence of the French Revolution. The French Revolution brought about changes in the relationship between the rulers and the ruled, and also redefined the nature of political system, abolishing the traditional one, monarchy, and established values like liberty, equality, and fraternity. French Revolution and its core essence. The French Revolution was a period of major social upheaval that began in 1787 and ended in 1799. It transformed the traditional political system and introduced new structure for democratic culture for the world. The ideals of the French Revolution are liberty, equality, fraternity. Some factors like economic, social, and political crisis, and particularly discontent between people and the rulers, influenced this historic revolution. This discontent, as well as existing social injustices, resulted in one of the bloodiest revolts in the history of mankind. This revolution gave birth to the revolutionary ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Before revolution, France was a kingdom of subjects, and after revolution, France became a nation of citizens. People established social order in line with the core essence of French Revolution. Now, democratic politics decide the fate of the individuals and the people or the citizens. The core essence or the ideas started in France and transcended its boundary to other countries like Italy, Germany, etc. Such ideas promoted equality, freedom and democracy, and good governance. This made France to be a nursery bed of democracy in Europe. Some great political scientists like Voltaire, 1694 to 1778, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, 1712 to 1778, advocated the ideals of individualism. And these ideas also inspired people for achieving more freedom and equality. During the reign of Louis XVI of France, whose wife was Marie Antoinette, there were several social inequalities among the people. The king and the nobility were enjoying all the good things of the country, and the common people were deprived of their due shares. The law of the country was not equal for all classes of people. The existing social injustices prompted the Great Revolution, known as the French Revolution in 1789. In France, people were divided into three states. That is, first state, high-ranking members of the church and the privileged class. Second state, nobility and privileged class. And the third state, everyone else, starting from peasants in the countryside to wealthy merchants in the cities and unprivileged class. The people in the third state were the real victims of exploitation, oppression, and deprivation by the rulers. The revolution abolished the old social classes, overthrew the monarchy, and brought the church under state control. People of all social classes were citizens, and they all had equal rights. Before the revolution, the society in France was based on privileges, but after revolution, there was a tremendous cultural drive for equality. Now, Bangabandhu's spirit. Bangabandhu was an ardent believer of democratic values and practices such as liberty, equality, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, freedom of religion, fraternity, and so on. He had a strong commitment to realize these values in the newly formulated Constitution of Bangladesh. Immediately after independence, he incorporated these values in the Constitution of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. He was a great leader, a great believer in democracy, an ardent lover of humanity, and a staunch advocate for promoting peace and justice. The very spirit of Bangabandhu was to establish a sovereign and independent state for the people of Bangladesh. Through his leadership, dedication, motivation, and guidance, he has been successful in achieving his dream, that is, emergence of Bangladesh as a sovereign and independent state in the world. Under the dynamic, bold, and strong leadership of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the people were motivated to sacrifice their lives for the cause of independence. During the War of Independence in 1971, 30 million people were killed. 2 lakh women lost their honor. Finally, Bangladesh emerges as a sovereign and independent country in 1971. Now, a comparative study. The socio-political and economic situation of the then East Pakistan in the 1960s and that of France in the 1780s was almost same as both the peoples were victims of ceaseless exploitation by the ruling class. Bangabandhu upholds the core values of the French Revolution. All through his life, he fought for the cause of establishing right of his people, for upholding democratic values and human dignity. It has been acknowledged that the core essence or the core values of French Revolution, such as liberty, equality, and fraternity, are also found in the spirit and political vision, that is, vision of Sonar Bangla, Golden Bengal, of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Bengali nationalism. Bangabandhu established a nation state based on Bengali nationalism. Bengali nationalism was based on secularism, language-centric. His struggle was based on the ideals of Bengali nationalism, democracy, socialism, and secularism. He was regarded as father of the nation because he was able to establish Bangladesh as sovereign and independent state in the spirit of Bengali nationalism. Bangabandhu's 7th March speech has made him the symbol of Bengali nationalism and aspiration of Bengali people. Bangabandhu was called a poet of politics by the world-famous magazine Newsweek, 5th April 1971. Now, Bangabandhu's spirit of liberty. Liberty, or the right to live freely and without oppression or undue restriction from the authorities, is a core value in a democratic society. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib believed in the spirit of liberty, and all through his life, his struggle was to liberate people from Pakistani exploitation and domination. It is he who has united people to fight against the Pakistani occupational forces. Bangabandhu's call for independence has disseminated all over the country. All sections of people, including military, paramilitary, police, government employees, political workers, students, laborers, and peasants, joined the movement to resist the Pakistani army. For his strong leadership, he was able to lead the people for achieving freedom, independence of Bangladesh. He was involved in language movement, 1952, 6-point demand known as Charter of Freedom of Bengali Nation. He was implicated in the Agartala conspiracy case as #1 accused. The case was filed in early 1968 and was also known as Agartala Shorojantra Mamla. Under mass protests, mass upsurge in 1969, this conspiracy case was withdrawn, and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and his co-accused were released. Bangabandhu, one of the most gifted orators of the world, delivered hundreds of fiery speeches. The most significant is the historic 7th March speech. On 7th March 1971, at the Ramna Racecourse Maidan in Dhaka, to a gathering of over 10 lakh people, Bangabandhu delivered his historic speech during a period of escalating tensions between East Pakistan and the powerful political and military establishment of West Pakistan. This phenomenal speech was the result of the exploitation and injustice that the people of the then East Pakistan had been experiencing since the birth of Pakistan in 1947. The 6-Point Movement in 1966, Agartala conspiracy case in 1969, and finally the election in 1970 were the progressions of the road to 7th March speech. The speech inspired the Bengali people to prepare for a war of independence amid widespread reports of armed mobilization by West Pakistan. Bangabandhu believed that through democratic movement, he would be able to establish Bangladesh as a sovereign and independent country. Bangabandhu's 7th March historic speech encouraged and guided all the freedom-loving people of the world to the path of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This speech has been recorded in the memory of the World International Register of UNESCO on 30th October 2017. This speech has been declared as the evidence of World Heritage by UNESCO. It is considered powerful and unparalleled in the history of mankind. In his speech, Bangabandhu proclaimed, "This struggle this time is a struggle for freedom. This struggle this time is a struggle for emancipation." Translated by Fakhrul Alam. Bangabandhu was confident that through this struggle, the people of Bangladesh will be able to achieve independence. Bangabandhu has incorporated his spirit of liberty and fundamental human rights in the Constitution of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. The Part 3 of the Constitution deals with fundamental rights. Article 32 deals with protection of right to life and personal liberty. 36, freedom of movement. 37, freedom of assembly. 38, freedom of association. 39, freedom of thought and conscience and of speech. 40, freedom of profession or occupation. And 41, freedom of religion. British Foreign and Development Office, Minister for South Asia and Commonwealth, Lord Tariq Ahmed, has said that Bangabandhu is an inspiration, not just to the Bengali community across the world, but to many who fight for liberty and democracy. He wanted to alter the fate suffered till that time by the people of his country and free them from poverty and hunger. He wanted to liberate the subjugated and deprived people of Bengal from oppression so that they could lead better lives. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman emerged as a legendary and an undisputed leader of the Bengalis. Now, his spirit of equality. Bangabandhu believed in the spirit of equality. Equality is not only about treating each other as equals, but also that every person is viewed equally under the law. Throughout his life, he struggled for freedom, democratic values, equality, and human dignity. He had to spend the most precious parts of his life in prison to establish the rights of his people. He gave up all comforts to fight ceaselessly and selflessly through continuous constructive movements to bring equal rights to Bengali people, Bengali nation. Article 19 of the Constitution deals with equality of opportunity. The state shall endeavor to ensure equality of opportunity to all citizens. Article 27, equality before law. All citizens are equal before law and are entitled to equal protection of law. Article 29, 1 to 3 provides the provision of equality of opportunity in public employment. Article 29, 1, there shall be equality of opportunity for all citizens in respect of employment or office in the service of the Republic. Bangabandhu's spirit of fraternity. Fraternity is not about gender or college social clubs, though the gender connotation absolutely existed when the motto was first uttered, but rather that we should all be kind and supportive to one another. At its core, it's about solidarity. We are all partners in building and maintaining the safe, free, and fair society we all want to live in. In his own autobiography, Bangabandhu wrote, "As a human being, I think about the whole nation of the universe. Besides, I'm deeply concerned about the issues related to Bengali, since I am a Bengali. The source of this harmony is love, endless love, which makes my politics and existence more significant." The power or the strength of Mujib was people. He loved people and lived with them in sorrow and pain. In his The Unfinished Memoirs, he said, "As a man, what concerns mankind concerns me. As a Bengali, I am deeply involved in all that concerns Bengalis. This abiding involvement is born of and nourished by love, enduring love, which gives meaning to my politics and to my very being." Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 3rd May 1973. On February 21, 1971, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman placed floral wreaths at the central Shahid Minar at 12:45 a.m. and delivered an inspiring speech. There he said, "We expect sympathy and brotherhood from everyone, but this doesn't mean that someone will enslave my 7 crore people of Bangladesh. This doesn't mean that someone will make my country into a market or colony." Bangabandhu said, "If you love people, they also love you. If you accept the slightest sacrifice, the public can give life for you." In conclusion, we can say that the spirit of the French Revolution, such as liberty, equality, and fraternity, are found in the spirit and political vision of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. All through his life, he upholds the values of democracy, equality, liberty, fraternity, and human rights. In all the democratic movements, he played a pioneering and strong role to guide the people to fight for democracy, human rights, and rule of law. Bangabandhu was a great undisputed leader, a great hero, and a staunch lover of humanity, peace, and justice. His charismatic leadership lifelong struggle for achieving freedom, and love for freedom, love for people have made him the father of the nation. Again, we can also find that Bangabandhu's spirit of equality, liberty, and fraternity are nicely stated in the preamble of the Constitution, placing that the high ideals of nationalism, socialism, democracy, and secularism, which inspired our heroic people to dedicate themselves to, and our brave martyrs to sacrifice their lives in, and the national liberation struggle shall be the fundamental principles of the Constitution. Further placing that it shall be a fundamental aim of the state to realize through the democratic process a socialist society, free from exploitation, a society in which the rule of law, fundamental human rights and freedom, equality and justice, political, economic, and social will be secured for all citizens. At last, I'd like to conclude here by paying due respect and homage to our great leader, architect of our independence, the greatest Bengali of all times, father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Thank you very much, respected audience, for your kind patience.
It is indeed a great deliberation. It has enriched our world of knowledge. We convey our thanks to Mrs. Sanjukta Pal Choitali for her comprehensive presentation. Now, may I request our highly esteemed keynote speaker of today's webinar, Professor Dr. Muhammad Abu Jafur, to deliver his keynote speech on the topic of the spirit of Bangabandhu upholds the core essence of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. He is going to analyze and evaluate the paper presented by a respected colleague, Sanjukta Pal Choitali. We are looking forward to hear you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen,
thank you.
Here comes Professor Dr. Muhammad Abu Jafur, Chairman, Department of English, Jagannath University.
Thank you. On this auspicious occasion of Bangabandhu's birth centenary and the Golden Jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh, I feel very happy and honored being invited by the Department of English, Bangla College, Dhaka, to join this webinar on the topic, the spirit of Bangabandhu is to uphold the core essence of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. I express my greetings and my warmest wishes to the distinguished chief guest, Professor Dr. Ferdowsi Khan, who is maybe absent and has not been able to join. Then the special guest, Professor Mohammad Jahangir Hussain, Vice Principal, Bangla College. The chair of the session, Professor Sabrina Ishrat, Head of the Department of English, Professor Sufia Saida Hassan of the Department of English, the paper presenter Sanjukta Pal Choitali, the other faculties, and other respected guests and students who have joined this webinar. Am I audible? It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The topic of this webinar is obviously very interesting. I would say that Bangabandhu is not merely a national figure, and our discussion should not be confined to our national boundary. He is a Herculean hero, or Prometheus, who underwent all the risk, all the pains and sufferings for the welfare of his people, that is, for the Bengalis. His life is an odyssey where we can see our existence, our identity as an independent nation in the world map. We can easily make a comparative study between any great leader and statesman of the world and Bangabandhu, between any great political events and the struggle of our independence under his great leadership. All suffering humanity can derive hope and inspiration from Bangabandhu. All oppressors can take good lessons to stop their operations. Being born in an ordinary family beside the river Madhumati, how Sheikh Mujibur Rahman became Bangabandhu, how he became the best figure ever born in 1,000 years history of Bengalis, of the Bengalis. All these are great wonders of the world that I think need to be focused more and more to an international audience through English. And I think English departments can take a leading role in this regard. And I'm thanking the Department of English, Bangla College, for this kind of initiative. It's really very difficult to talk on Bangabandhu and his idealism in a short time. Another difficulty is to discuss the spirit of Bangabandhu with the core essence of French Revolution. Yet, Sanjukta Pal Choitali, professor of the Department of English, Bangla, key points of Bangabandhu's achievements relating to the core essence of the French Revolution. The very slogan of the French Revolution is Liberté, Égalité, Fraternity. These are the French words, and in English translation, liberty, equality, and fraternity. She has highlighted how the monarchy in France created social inequality, injustice, and deprivation of the masses, how the revolution took place in order to establish people's rights, how the people of the third estate, who comprised 98%, Louis the State, toppled down monarchy, reduced the power of the it was the bad system of the government against which the common people of France fought. Ms. Sanjukta has mentioned that the ideas of the philosophers of the Enlightenment, the philosophers like Voltaire, Jacques Rousseau, and John Locke, Montesquieu as well, how their ideas actually influenced people, the common people, to go for such kind of revolution. French Revolution had remarkable impact, not only in France, but almost all parts of the world. So that was tremendous, and that was really a very historical event. And till now, actually, we talk of French Revolution for any talk of democracy. One can easily find similarities of 23 years Pakistan rule from 1947 to 1970, and the rule of monarchy in France during the later decades of the 18th century. The system of monarchy in France established the rule of absolutism, depriving the vast majority of the common people, while the kings and the nobility indulged in luxury and laziness. She has mentioned all this. The king imposed huge taxes on the common mass in order to lead their luxurious life and meet other expenses. Common people became aware of their rights and they raised their voice against monarchy. On the other hand, government was turning more and more ruthless to control rebellions. Anyone going against government were sent to Bastille Fort. So this Bastille Fort is very important, and it was used for imprisonment. It was the biggest prison in France. And Louis the 14th, 15th, 16th, actually, they used this prison for torturing people, keeping them in the prison. Similarly, actually, during the Pakistan period, the rights of the people of East Pakistan was badly neglected. The two parts of Pakistan was split with a distance of 1100 miles by the Indian territory. Lahore, a bleak city in the West Pakistan, was made capital. The non-Bengalis held the higher positions in the government and in military. New industries were being built in the West Pakistan, and the raw materials were being supplied from the East Pakistan. The first issue of conflict started with the language issue, Bangla. The language movement of 1952 culminated with the sacrifice of a number of brave sons of our soil. Bangabandhu was being imprisoned again and again with false charges against him, got momentum, and people of East Pakistan from all walks of life joined the movement. The thing that I want to mention here, in a newspaper article titled French Revolution and Our Mass Uprising, published in the Daily Star on 14 July 2015, the writer Shahnur Wahid he has tried to compare this. Fall of Louis the 16th, the fall of Dhaka, cantonment on 22 February, and release of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had literally paved the way, the end of Pakistan in the soil of Bengal. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman actually came out of the soil. Actually, he is a man of the soil, of our soil. He mixed with the boatmen, the rickshaw pullers, and all other working people, and knew their miseries. Doing something good for the poor and the deprived was the very mission of his life. When the teenage Sheikh Mujib was the student of mission school at Gopalganj, his father kept a house tutor whose name was Qazi Abdul Hamid. That teacher had set up a very small charity organization called Muslim Sheba Samiti, by which he helped the poor students. He collected a handful of rice grains as alms from houses. By selling this rice, he bought books for them, for the poor students, and gave them money to meet their expenses. He also worked hard to find lodgings for the poor students. Sheikh Mujib began to work with his teacher. Suddenly, his teacher died of tuberculosis, and Sheikh Mujib took the charge of that charity organization. This is in Unfinished Memoir, page 99. It was published by UPL. Sheikh Mujib had exceptional leadership quality and organizing power. In fact, leadership was very instinctive and inbuilt in his character. He could easily form a team, and his followers were ready to fight at his command. In his teens, he had noticed the poisonous steam of communal disharmony. He had many Hindu friends. One of his friends was Noni, who stayed in his Kakima's house. He spent much time with Sheikh Mujib, and sometimes he also ate with him in their house. One day, Sheikh Mujib visited him in his Kakima's house. After Sheikh Mujib had returned home, Noni came to him with tears in his eyes and said, "You never go to our house." This is a quotation, I quote, "You never go to our house because after you have left Kakima, after you have left, Kakima has rebuked me a lot for taking you in our house. She washed the floors of our house and she forced me to do that with her. However, in his boyhood, Sheikh Mujib also got good treatment from many of his Hindu friends. So Sheikh Mujib was first imprisoned when he was 16 or 17 years old, maybe. And that was actually very interesting, that he, one of his friends, whose name was Malik, he was unjustly caught and brought to an influential Hindu leader's house. And he went there with his team, with some other boys, and he snatched Malik. And then there was a fighting, and he injured a boy, and that was the reason that he was imprisoned. He was sent to the prison. So that is his that is his spirit, that actually he was always thinking something. He was always to do something good for other people, and he always hated any kind of discrimination. The Hindu-Muslim discrimination between the Hindus and Muslims, this shocked him a lot. When Sheikh Mujib was 18 years old, he attracted the attention of the great political leaders, Hussein Shahid Sohrawardy and Sher Bangla A.K. Fazlul Haq, who came to a political gathering at Gopalganj. When Sheikh Mujib was the student there, he was the student of mission school. Catching hands of Sohrawardy, he actually entered the politics. And Sheikh Mujib was supported by his father and his family. Otherwise, actually, it was very difficult for him to carry on. And Sheikh Mujib's father, Sheikh Lutfur Rahman, he was very intelligent, and he knew that actually extraordinary quality of leadership and something that he could discover. And sometimes people complained against Sheikh Mujib, Sheikh Mujib, for some kind of violence and some kind of protest. But actually, everything was for something good. And one day, his father said to Sheikh Mujib, "Dear son, remember, if you have the sincerity of purpose and honesty of purpose, you will not be defeated." So this inspired him a lot, and he was very respectful to his father. In fact, whether or not Sheikh Mujib read about French Revolution in his school years, these three words, liberty, equality, and fraternity, became the very spirit and pole star of his life that he wanted to preserve and fight for. He dedicated his life to set things right. Again, he knew that a political platform is necessary for mobilizing people for the cause of freedom. He was shocked by the political behavior of the Muslim League leaders in the independent Pakistan state. He played the most important role to form Awami League, which gradually became people's platform. Throughout his life, Bangabandhu fought for people's liberty, for equal treatment and harmonious coexistence among people. So after independence, his mission was to formulate a constitution ensuring people's rights. On his return to Bangladesh from Pakistan prison on 10 January 1972, he delivered his speech at the Sohrawardy Udyan. He said, "If our people do not get shelter, if they do not get foods, if the youth do not get jobs, get any work, our liberty will fail. Our country will be democratic, secular, and socialist. Peasants, workers, Hindus, Muslims, all will live happily." unquote. Here, actually, though Bangabandhu mentioned the two religions, he actually meant all religions. On the occasion of approving the draft of the constitution, Bangabandhu explained what it has been meant by nationalism. Nationalism, by nationalism, actually, he wanted to mean Bengali nationalism. And democracy, the rights of the people who are the citizens. And so by socialism, actually socialism, he meant a society free from exploitation. And secularism, it will not mean, secularism will not mean without religion. And the key points related to liberty, equality, and fraternity have been discussed by Sangjukta, Ms. Sangjukta, and I am not repeating. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman uttered the very phrase Sonar Bangla. He wanted to build this country. He wanted to make a Sonar Bangla, which will be free from exploitation, where people will live happily. But we all know what happened on 15 August 1975. He was not given that opportunity, that chance. Within only 3.5 years, actually, he made this tragic end of his life, along with most of his family members. So last of all, actually, I want to say that Bangabandhu is the designer, is the architect of our nation. He is the father of our nation. Some critics say that actually, why did Bangabandhu meet this kind of tragedy? Some critics say that it is because he loved his people, and he loved his people too much. That was the reason. He was the father. So he was the father. He was the father of our nation, and on this auspicious occasion, I'd like to say that actually now Bangabandhu's daughter, our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, is trying her best to build that Sonar Bangla, which was the dream of our father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And we we should try to strengthen her hand so that a peaceful situation exists. So that's all from me. And once again, I'm thanking all of you and inviting me for this kind of occasion. So thanks all.
Thank you very much, respected sir, for your valuable and insightful speech. From your speech, we have learned many unknown, unexplored things and events on French Revolution, as well as our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Honorable presence, suddenly, our Honorable Principal Madam has been engaged in an important issue. That's why, at this moment, she is not able to attend the webinar. And our respected Vice Principal, Sir, Professor Muhammad Jahangir Hossain, now will conduct the role of chief guest. Now, I would like to invite our chief guest, Professor Muhammad Jahangir Hossain, respected Vice Principal of this college. Sir is a guide, mentor, and philosopher to all of us. Sir always inspires to our best. Sir also helps to navigate the Department of English through sunshine, storm, and fair weather. Sir, we are very grateful for your continuous support
Okay.
and inspiration.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our honorable chief guest, Professor Muhammad Jahangir Hossain, to say of his words.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me in your this webinar. Especially the webinar, your title that you have chosen is very much relevant. Even universally, I think it is very much related in the world context, not only in the French populations, but not only the Bangladesh or Pakistan context. But I think the Bangabandhu's spirit is the universal spirit. However, I would like to, before I begin, I would like to thank you that especially the presence, Honorable Chair, Professor Sabrina Ishar, and especially our today's webinar that is glorified and dignified with the kind presence of keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Abu Jafar, Chairman, Jagannath University, and Professor Supriya Saida Hassan, that she has also made the welcome address, and especially the paper presenter, Ms. Sanjukta Pal Choitali, and also the today's presenter, and all the teachers belonging to English department as well as other departments, and especially the students of English department. Today, all those who have been present today, I would like to thank you very much. At the same time, I would like to say a very good evening to all of you for your joining with us. And mention may be made here that already we are celebrating the birth centenary of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, this Mujib year, and at the same time the celebration of the Golden Jubilee of Independence is going on. So within the context of these two celebrations, we'd like to pay our special homage to the Father of the Nation from this webinar, because to whom this program is totally focused on. And already I would like to thank the paper presenter and especially the keynote speaker, because they have in detail analyzed all the aspects of this subject matter today's webinar. The French Revelation, liberty, equality, fraternity, and how it is related to the spirit of Bangabandhu. So the presenter, I think she has analyzed in details, and keynote speaker very critically appreciated, pointed what was lost and what should have been. At the same time, he has encouraged our presenter as well as our whole department. I think that is our plus point to this seminar, that his presence and his remarkable appreciation, I think, will inspire our presenters, English teachers, and our students to love Bangabandhu more in light of this context. And especially keynote speakers, observation really that is very remarkable, that should we take into account, that how can we take initiative in details and further to make Bangabandhu, to spread the spirit of the Bangabandhu publicly known in the world. At the same time, how he has analyzed how Bangabandhu became Bangabandhu in the national to international period, and what was his dream to build a Sonar Bangla, and finally his dream that unfinished revelation that was undone by Bangabandhu will be done by his worthy daughter. So, so very nicely he has concluded with a very optimistic note. I would like to thank you once again. So I would like to, in short, so to avoid the repetition, what should I say? That Bangabandhu, French Revolution, and Bangabandhu. I think Bangabandhu is a very Himalayan figure, very titanic figure, and he is very much synonymous with Bangladesh. So Bangladesh means Bangabandhu, Bangabandhu means Bangladesh. And from this transition from Bangladesh to international level, he has become the world friend, I mean Vishwabandhu. So Bangabandhu to Vishwabandhu, this what for? Due to his charismatic leadership as well as his charismatic address, speech, and power of motivation and leadership. And in his leadership, that was very based on his love for the people, love for the Bengali people. Already Sanjukta Pal has stated that as a Bengali, what concerns me, or as a man, what concerns me, I am in both categories. At the same time, the root of this concerns involvement with Bengali nation or the Bengali nations, that is his love. And that love is spontaneous love for the country and the people that has made his life, his politics, his life being and identity very meaningful. And already he has pointed out in his unfinished memoirs. So you think out of this context that Bangabandhu totally dedicated his life towards building a beautiful Sonar Bangla for the Sonar people, free from hunger, free from communalities, free from exploitation, free from poverty. So a kind of happy, very prosperous Bangladesh he dreamed of. And this dream that was rooted with his love for the nation, love for Bengalis. That's why he's the greatest Bengali of the 1,000 years. Otherwise, why is called Bangabandhu? Otherwise, why is called the father of the nation? And these three key spirits, liberty, equality, and fraternity. I would like to say this 3-1 is rooted on only one quality I could like to say, that is this love. And this love, spirit of love for Bengali and Bengali, forming a Bengali nation based on Bengali nationalism, was rooted with his liberty, equality, or fraternity, or revelation. And out of this, another quality that should be that this liberty, equality, fraternity is also it is boosted by his power of revelation, because he believed that blood, without a struggle, without resistance, it is not possible to establish liberty. It is not possible to establish equality, even fraternity. And that is leading to Sonar Bangla. So, dear audience, out of this context, if we think that, then we can understand these things. And French Revolution, already you know, that occurs. And I would like to say, don't like to repeat, but I would like to say that this French Revolutions, there's some remarkable 18th century enlightenment that encouraged the whole Europe, even the whole world with this revolutionary power. And that has shaped the social structure, power structure in the world arena. And Bangabandhu is not far from that. And how the power structures? Because you see the Voltaire and Rousseau's famous quotation that we often utter, that man is born free but chained later on. by the society. So this quotation is very much applicable here. And Voltaire, the revolutionary ideas that highlighted, upholded the people's rights. And the Rousseau that moment, and the Montesquieu that already our Professor Abu Jafar has finally mentioned his name. And I would like to add also another Diderot and also John Locke at that moment. The adventure of these five together, their ideas of the enlightenment that enlightened the revolutionary minds of the world that moment. And that's why you think of the American Revolution that happened in 1775. That is also boosted the French Revolution. And this French Revolution, American Revolution, and they changed the minds to us all. And this, especially if we very critically and briefly say, I would like to comment that what we see that the structure of the French, yes, there was a great gap, great disparity between the high-ranking members, especially of the church and the privileged ones, or elite or aristocratic, whatever you say, and the peasants or the common people. That Bangabandhu says that Shoshito and Shoshok, the world is divided into two ones. So here the same thing. Bangabandhu's spirit is of course uphold this one. And that's why the revelation, that's why the repercussion and the struggle happens in France. And the France, especially the main points I would like to focus that shaped the minds and reversed the ideas of the French people. How? That moment the state was very powerful. The king or the monarch or the monarchy was the absolute power, and they ruled the country. And the people were the subjects to be ruled. And the people, they were exploited, so they have no voice. The subaltern cannot speak there. And so this gap gradually heightened the discriminations. Gradually. And this revelation that newly introduced that no, it is not the state, but it is the people who is the source of the power. The people is the Janagon Shakal Kamatar Utsho, as Bangabandhu again and again pronounces. And that is taken from the French Revolution. And this reverse ideas that from the state monarch to, so absolute power to, or from the feudalism to, that is transition of this power to the common people, that people comes at the point, at the top of the leading point. That it is the people, whoever, and they have their voice, they have their rights. There is no exploitation that should be between the two. So, dear audience, this thing should be very much, I think, applicable here. That and Bangabandhu's, if we say this way, how then? And also, I would like to say that Voltaire, I would like to mention is one of the quality, because that freedom of the religion that he highlighted much, Voltaire. Because Bangabandhu did the same thing, that he liked to separate the religion from the state. That's why his secularism was introduced as a principle, one of the vital principles of the constitution. So this Voltaire, one of the pioneers of the, along with Rousseau in French Revolution, that freedom of religion, I mean, that should be free from the Catholicism, and he attacked on Catholicism, and separation of the church from the state he demanded. Even you will be surprised to know, if I mention is one of the quote, that all priests are impostors. Try to see the religious figures. All priests are impostors, and the miracles, those are illusions, and the revelations is just human invention. So you think how he criticized the superstitions, and how he criticized how the state often, the politicians often use religion to exploit the people to ensure their power gain. And this, I think all this should be taken into account to analyze the spirit of Bangabandhu. And you see the Bangabandhu's spirit if we say, if you think that 47, because he saw the exploitation of the Jamindars before 1947, and how the farmers, how the common people were exploited, like the third state of the French, and then how the separation from the British power to an introduction of the new Pakistan, and how he faced another colony under the colony of Pakistan. So here the same exploitation, self-discrimination, the last is 23 years struggle for the emancipation. All the things suit his 66 points, 6-point demands. And already Professor Jaffer has pointed out that he first started his rebellion with his 52 spirit in the question of the language movement. And that started for the Bengali nationalism. And the spirit of the Bengali nationalism he fought for. And he was able to study, to read the minds of the people, and was able to unite the people of the Bengali, the Bangladesh. I mean, they would be Bangladesh. And he was able to translate the dreams of the Bengali people, that Bengali needs a separate Bengali state that must be separated from the Pakistan. Otherwise, there would not be any kind of Sonar Bangla or a separate Bengali nations. So you think this 52, 54, 58 and 62 education movement against the communal education policy, how the Bengali nations fought for, and then 69, 66 and 69, 70 elections, and 71 very, very seriously highlighted his love for liberty, freedom, and fraternity. How already said this struggle for independence, freedom, this struggle for our emancipation, very truly, it comes to the, from the climax to the success is coming down, that this is the time, and this is to be translated through this spirit of liberty, through the spirit of fraternity, his love for. He associated himself as one of the Bengalis with the Bengali voices of Bangladesh, of Bengali nation. And then he, one of the quotation I would like to quote, that রক্ত যখন দিয়েছি আরো দেব এ দেশকে মুক্ত করে ছাড়বো ইনশাআল্লাহ. Doesn't this sentence shows the uphold the three together, the liberty, fraternity, equality, because রক্ত is a revolution, blood, resistance, struggle, liberty, and his determination, আরো দেব, and his মুক্ত করে ছাড়বো, that is freedom, liberty, inshallah, with the faith of God. So you think how he very nicely calculated the studies and lead the people with him against his against the tyranny from the Pakistan, and at the same time towards the fulfillment of his dream together, towards making the Bengali a Sonar Bangla, a happy, prosperous Sonar Bangla. And that's why to him, the Hindus, Muslims, Bengalis or non-Muslim, both are Bengalis, both are Bengalis, both are human beings. There's no religion that can separate themselves. And that's why this is the great fraternity that he cherished, he uphold in his heart and mind, and his practice in politics. And that's why introduction of the four basic principles: nationalism, socialism, democracy, secularism. Everything, everyone is highlighted based on liberty, equality. Because Bengali nationalism is totally based on its liberty. And socialism, already Professor Jaffer pointed out, and democracy, totally freedom of expression, freedom of living, movement. Sanjuktapal pointed out very nicely. That is the people, not monarchy. The people are the source of the all strength. That to David Frost, as he once pointed out in his interview, that my weakness or my love, whatever you say, that is all my, that I am centered, my love to them. And everything is determined and action directed towards my love for the people of the Bengal. So you think this democratic feelings is totally there. And secularism already I have pointed out, he always pointed as a human being, as on the based on fraternity. There is no Muslim or there's the religion. He always wanted that state should be separately done because state is for all. রাষ্ট্র সবার ধর্ম যার যার, state for all, religion for individual choice. But his identity is that they inhabited in the form of Bengali in Bangladesh, and they have all joined in the liberation war to welcome the call of the father of the nation, Ebare Sangram, Mukti Sangram. So, dear audience, so doesn't it mean that his whole life towards that is dedicated towards building and upholding that spirit? And you think out of his very short 55 years of lifetime, that is more than 13 years he spent in jail. And what jail? In that Pakistan jail. What jail? Made by that colony jail. So this colonial, what for? How can a man live in a jail 13 years? How can he write his unfinished memoirs? How can he write his Karagare Rose Namcha or Amar Dekhano Achin? These 3 books recently published and discovered by his worthy daughter that should be read and analyzed, and that should be spread out, that spirit. Everywhere his liberty, equality, fraternity, and love and struggle and tribulation for building this Bangladesh, where we are living as a proud citizen, as proud Bengalis, that is. So, dear audience, I don't like to say more because this is enough, I think. I think in short, and I would like to, because I'm the last speaker, and I think the honorable chair is waiting to conclude the sessions. So thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me, not as whatever the chair or not whatever the guest, but as one of the speakers, as English teacher, and I feel proud of introducing myself as the English professor with all of the professors. And I love the country, I love Bangabandhu, and I love this spirit, because Bangabandhu is a universal figure, and Bangabandhu's voice, that is upholding whatever the revolutionary terms you can give, the epithets or synonyms, he is universal because his voice, his advocacy, his message is always universal, relevant, applicable in not only Bangladesh, beyond Bangladesh, throughout the world, where especially the exploitation and injustice and oppression prevails. And there is Bangabandhu. So this binary traditions is always there. If there is injustice, Bangabandhu is there. If there is a colony, Bangabandhu is there. So Bangabandhu's voice would be always universally present and present, ever present in all freedom-loving people, freedom-loving nation. So we salute Bangabandhu, Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu, may Bangladesh live long, and may his dream and unfinished work be done gradually by his worthy daughter Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Prime Ministers, towards the fulfillment. And already we are testing that fruit towards 2030 and again 2041. And his complete vision, her complete vision will include Bangabandhu's vision, and Bangabandhu will be again remarkable and present through her actions done by her daughter, and then followed and boosted by all the citizens like we the people who love Bangabandhu and his Bangladesh and his Sonar Bangla. So thank you all. Thank you for inviting me once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your didactic, encouraging, and informative speech. We have really been enlightened by your valuable and encouraging speech. Finally, I'd like to invite Professor Sabrina Ishrat, respected Chair, Department of English, Govt Bangla College, and the President of today's webinar. So, please welcome Professor Sabrina Ishrat.
Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. Fraternity Khan, Principal, Govt Bangla College. Because of some unavoidable circumstances, she can't join us, but she expresses her best wishes for the success of our webinar. She always remains within us as an eternal inspiration to do the best for the betterment of the institution as well as the students. Respected special guest, Professor Mohammad Jahangir Hossain, Vice Principal, Govt Bangla College. We are ever ready to receive any sort of suggestion from him especially for academic activities for the welfare of Department of English. Our respected keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Abu Jafar, Chairman, Department of English, Jagannath University. We are intensely happy having you among us in this seminar. Thanks a lot for giving us your valuable time. Your very presence and your informative delivery has enlightened us a lot. Respected chairpersons, dear colleagues, college staff, and my dearest students. Already we have received a lot from the worthy, informative speeches of our principal discussion, Professor Dr. Abu Jafar. Our special guest, Professor Mohammad Jahangir Hossain, and our presenter, Sanjukta Pal Choitali, Assistant Professor. We pay our profound honor to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. He dreamed of that Bangladesh where in every sphere of life we can enjoy equality, democracy, freedom of speech, secularism, and that should be practiced in every sphere of life. That was the dream of our father of the nation. Under his dynamic, charismatic leadership, we have achieved our priceless independence. And till now, we are going on the path shown by this very historic figure, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. In our discussion today, we have tried to make a bridge between the principles, between the ideals of the French Revolution and the political principles of our great leader. And at the same time, it's our immense pleasure, it's our honor that we are celebrating the Golden Jubilee of our dearest motherland, Bangladesh. The French Revolution was a period of social, political, cultural movement. It brought about a tremendous drastic change in traditional political system and began a new era of democratic culture throughout the world. The motto, the objectives of this movement were, as we have discussed as our topic, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Social, economic, cultural, and political crisis created discontentment between the oppressor and the oppressed, between the ruler and the ruled. All these factors resulted in one of the cruelest rebellions in the history of mankind, and the final result is the beginning of a new world where people could enjoy total social, political, cultural freedom, as well as can enjoy fraternity, equality, brotherhood. In case of Bangladesh, our father of the nation, Bangabandhu, started and demonstrated democratic, political, as well as social movement and guided people from different sectors of this society to protest against all sorts of oppression, all types of injustice practiced by the then West Pakistan. His leadership inspired people to make supreme sacrifices and achieve an independent Bangladesh, where every man from every corner of this country can enjoy wholeheartedly total freedom and can live enjoying the maximum standard of living. We can pay our proper homage, our proper tribute to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman if we together can walk in the path which is flourished, nurtured, and ultimately enriched by the principles, objectives, motto, goals of our Father of the Nation. Lot of thanks, dear audience, for your presence. And thanks again for your patient hearing.
Okay,
Wishing
thank you.
you a safe and sound life. Joy Bangla, long live Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, respected Chairman Madam, for her remarkable and inspiring speech. We express our heartfelt gratitude to you, sir. At the end of the seminar, we again pay our humble respect and due homage to the greatest Bengali of all times, the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Now, I would like to express our heartfelt thanks to the audience for giving the precious time for this occasion. I hope you have enjoyed the program. Thank you very much for your kind presence and participation to make the webinar effective and successful. Now, with the kind permission of the chair, I declare the webinar end.